Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Stephanie Miller Show.
I'm walking on sunshine. Whoa, I'm walking on sunshine. Whoa, and doesn't it feel good? Hey, all right now, and doesn't it feel good?
Oh, yes, it is. 6 minutes after the hour. Happy Friday, everybody. 1-800-STEPH12, the phone number. Toll free from anywhere. StephanieMiller.com, the website. You can email us all there. Executive producer Chris LeBoy, voice deity Jim Warner, me, Stephanie Miller. Like Kenny Pick did, who just sent us the lovely festive Trey Radel, Cocaine Dreidel song, which we will play again because I'm feeling festive. He just has a point, Chris, about my sauerkraut, which you impugn every year.
Well, because it's gross.
Can I have some recipe music, please? Steph Sauerkraut. Hi, gang. This is from Kenny Pick. I just wanted to let you know I've been making Steph Sauerkraut off and on for the last 6 years for Thanksgiving and other occasions. That's always a big hit with everyone. Chris. As a matter of fact, it's delicious. Get it? Because the secret ingredient is dill in Mama's sauerkraut.
Delicious.
I've since abandoned the family tradition of Brussels sprouts with Pez. See how we said this is the only time of the year that you put candy in vegetables. Okay. Lastly, I'm the dude that did the 30-second spot for Seattle with the Barracuda music bed. Rocky Mountain Mike is responsible for most of the awesomeness in the world. This is true.
Yes.
But I can lay claim to that one. That's right. Speaking of sexy.
Seattle, want to end 2013 on a high note? Then get your tickets now for Stephanie Miller's Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour. Coming to the Paramount Theater December 14th, 2013.
Oh, babies, who's ready to get their sexy on with Mama?
Go to sexyliberal.com for ticket information and all things Sexy Liberal. Once again, Stephanie Miller's Sexy Liberal Comedy Tour is coming to the Paramount Theater on December 14th, 2013. Be there and brace yourselves for some sexy liberal action.
Yoo-hoo! Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it. That would make a lovely Chris Mahana Kwanzaa gift. Seattle Sexy Liberal. As would, by the way, what's coming up February, Phoenix Sexy Liberal. What do you call it? March is Madison Sexy Liberal. And then just announced last week, tickets going very fast, Albuquerque for May. Get it for the Sexy Liberal in your life. This Chris Mahana Kwanzaa talk. Oh, there's another season, Rocky Mountain Mike tells us. Yes.
So it's Chris Christie. And what has he done? Another year over, and he's lost almost a ton. A very Merry Christie.
Oh, Merry Christie.
He'll be Santa this year, but before it's all over, he'll be teabag, that's for sure.
Aw, thank you, Rocky Mountain Mike. How festive. All right, Joanne in Carlsbad, I read this last hour, but said, guys, I was born in 63. The Kennedy assassination dominated my life for years, being Irish and Catholic. It'd be great if today Jim could do a segment on the Kennedy assassination, but Jim, please try to make it Kennedy Conspiracy for Dummies. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you...
Voice Deity, Jim Ward.
Why, thank you. I have a jingle. You do?
Yes.
Wow.
We wanted to make you feel like a special guest. Are you here every day?
Usually.
Pretty much. Unless there's, some stuff going on.
Right.
All right.
So, where to begin? What people want to know is who did it and why. Well, that's a complicated question. But the short answer is the, what Eisenhower called the... blanking.
Military-industrial
complex. Thank you.
I'm
MIA.
a helper.
You are. Yeah. The CIA was pretty much out of control in those days. It goes all the way back to when Harry Truman dealt with them in the 40s. They were supposed to have been an organization to help the president give him information, not one that created policy. So when they came to him with the cockamamie idea of overthrowing Mossadegh in Iran, because Standard Oil and BP wanted it, he told them to go to hell. They're supposed to be promoting democracies, not strangling them in the cradle. I don't know if those are his exact words, but that was the intent of it. Anyway, the CIA was running the show in Vietnam. They wanted to expand into Laos. They were assassinating people in Central and South America and Africa. And Kennedy felt like he was just being overruled by this agency, which is never supposed to have been a policy-making one. And then when he came up with the Bay of Pigs little party there. He initially supported it as long as it was a legitimate domestic, anti-Castro Cubans fighting for themselves. He didn't want it to be an act of war a la Pearl Harbor, which is what the Joint Chiefs and the CIA were suggesting. In fact, the aircraft carrier Essex was waiting just over the horizon in case the plot failed, which it did. And so Kennedy knew that could be the beginning of World War III, because Khrushchev had his own military-industrial complex to deal with, hotheads who couldn't wait to start World War III. What a lot of people don't know about the Kennedy administration is that Khrushchev and Kennedy were going through back channels trying to prevent World War III from happening. And the CIA and the Joint Chiefs were not happy about that, especially Curtis LeMay, who was going around saying that...
Who's Curtis LeMay?
He was one of the Joint Chiefs. He was major figure in World War II.
Because I'm one of these dummies that you're talking to, so I may have a couple of questions
But young
as you go along.
But he was pushing for a first nuclear strike on the Soviet Union, saying that, there'll be some blowback. We'll probably lose 4 or 5 major cities. 4 or 5 major cities?
That's a problem.
And that's just the initial explosion, not the radiation that would spread around the world.
So, Jim, I heard, because you were just mentioning, obviously, missile crisis, yada, yada, because you hear different things from every quarter. I guess it must have been a right-winger saying, they were trying to cover up that, the left-wing media didn't want, it to known that the communists killed Kennedy.
Well, first of all, Oswald wasn't a communist. He was part of the U2 program.
Did he fire a shot?
No.
He did not?
No.
Okay.
Because this is, testimony from the Warren Commission. Oswald was in the lunchroom, the first floor lunchroom in the book depository, buying a Coke. One of his coworkers saw him there just before the motorcade came into Dealey Plaza. After all the shots were fired, there's a famous footage of a motorcycle policeman just jumping off his bike before it even stopped to run into the building. He ran up the stairs to the lunchroom. Oswald was still there, drinking the Coke that he had just bought.
So who fired the shots, do you think?
You're getting
I'm
way
sorry.
ahead of
Okay,
the story.
sorry.
So, Phil, tell me everything now.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Anyway, so he wasn't even up there on the 6th floor when the shots were being fired. The elevators were up on the top floor. It had just been minutes since he'd bought the Coke. He was still Coke. He was still drinking it at the time. He appeared to be waiting for a call on the payphone there to get his instructions.
So you think he was a part of it? He just did not fire the shots, is what you're saying?
I think. Well, there's a lot of scholarship that says that he was trying to prevent the assassination. You see, as I was saying, he was part of the U2 program, which is CIA. He was a radar operator, so he had a very high security clearance, crypto level, which is above top secret, because he was dealing with the altitudes and the flight patterns of the U-2. In fact, during the House Select Committee on Assassinations in the 70s, they had someone there from the CIA payroll department who said under oath that Oswald was on the payroll, which makes sense because it was the U-2 program. So the idea that he was this wild card lone nut is ridiculous. Also, he was a terrible shot. According to all of his Marine Corps buddies, they said he got Maggie's drawers every time. That means they sent up a red flag because you managed to miss the target every single damn time, and that was with a good rifle. The Mannlicher Carcano was not a good rifle. In fact, the Italian army called it the Peacemaker because there's no way in hell anyone could kill anyone with that rifle unless you threw it at their head or something. And this particular rifle...
Is there any record of that ever happening?
No.
Okay.
Was the president hit with one of these guns as he was driving past Dealey Plaza?
No.
Okay.
But also, the gun had a misaligned scope. It hadn't been sighted in. So the best shot in the world couldn't have hit anything with that rifle. Also, there were no prints on it. When it went to the FBI that night, it was clean. Oswald tested negative for nitrate residue on his cheek, which is what you get when you fire a rifle. They found a palm print on the rifle on Monday after Oswald was conveniently dead. There's a series of shows back in the 80s called The Men Who Killed Kennedy, and they interviewed the guy who ran the funeral parlor where Oswald was. He said the FBI came in, spent about half an hour with the body, and then they left, and he had to clean, the funeral director, black ink off of Oswald's palm. They planted a palm on the gun after he was dead. But they screwed that up, too, because it was on a part of the rifle that was only exposed when it was disassembled. So even if it had been a legitimate print, and it wasn't, that still doesn't put him up there in that window shooting the bullets. Now,
so now we have about a couple minutes more here. Can we get? Am I rushing to get to who you think was involved, or? The mafia were generally used for domestic assassinations in those days, so there definitely were mob shooters there. But the people ordering these movements, that's very hard to say. Huh?
But I suspect people within CIA, because Kennedy, after the Bay of Pigs fiasco, wanted to break up the CIA into 1,000 pieces, and that's when he formed the Defense Intelligence Agency.
So you think CIA and Mafia?
Yes.
Well, Mafia at the direction of the CIA?
Right.
Okay.
But also because Kennedy signed his own death warrant when he signed National Security Action Memorandum 263, which said he wanted to get out of Vietnam as soon as possible, meaning after the election, because, Goldwater would have called him soft on communism. And his little
he's going to
buddy
mention Goering's buddy, my dad, in a second.
Some guy named Miller. I don't know.
All right.
Oh, Lord.
All right. So, and if you have any questions for Jim about, being that it's November 22nd, about the JFK assassination, please. 1-800-STEPH-12, the phone number. 18 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show.
Call the political party line now. 1-800-STEPH-12. Stephanie Miller.
Dow closes above 16,000 for the first time ever. Thanks, Obama.
Thanks, Obama.
Bad for business, Kenyan socialist. Thanks a lot. 1-800-STEPH-12, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. Look there, Jim, November 22nd. Phone lines done has been exploded here. Let's go to Lisa in Minneapolis. You're on with Jim. Hey, Lisa.
Hey, first time, long time. Love you guys. Huge fan. Love Jim.
Yeah.
But I watched Frontline on Monday night, and they had, I'm sort of now a conspiracy skeptic. I was just wondering two things. Number one, what is there a conspiracy surrounding when he shot that cop on the street? I don't know about that. It's hard to explain that.
That's interesting. Actually, there were several eyewitnesses. One of them was a woman who made some outrageous claims that she cradled Tippett in her arms while he was dying, and it's complete horse dookie. And she thought the guy looked like Oswald and walked in the direction of the Texas movie theater where he was arrested. There was another eyewitness who said it was a guy who looked nothing like Oswald who walked the other direction. The most credible eyewitnesses said it was two guys who walked off in opposite directions. And the proof for that is that there were two types of ammunition used in the killing of Officer Tippett. They had 3 bullets in the chest and then a coup de grace in the top of the head with a different type of bullet.
Well, they didn't mention that on the show.
Well, of course not.
Well, Jim Ward possesses a terrifying amount of knowledge about the JFK.
Also, I was just wondering if you knew what you have to say about them kind of debunking the magic bullet theory.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you asked that. I was going to get to that right away.
This is the happiest I've ever seen Jim. Lisa,
I love Jim.
We knew he was going to show up today.
Okay, the Warren Commission's theory was that there were 3 bullets. I don't know why they came up with 3. I don't know if it's a holy trinity or what. But I don't know who set up the sniper's nest situation. There's several different versions of it, saying these boxes don't look right. It's not quite lone gunman-y enough. But the through line was like 3 shells lined up neatly like cartoon birds in a Disney movie. Anyway, they went with the 3-bullet theory. So what problem was, one of them, actually there were several bullets that missed, but the famous one is the one that hit the curb by Main Street down the middle of Dealey Plaza, which, by the way, was the originally planned route. Had they done that, Kennedy would have, got a second term. But James Tague was standing there, and the bullet hit the curb. A bit of concrete hit him in the cheek, and that was the bullet that missed, the one that they would acknowledge. But that's why they had to invent the single bullet theory. by which they meant that a bullet entered the back of Kennedy's neck. Not true. It was at the third thoracic vertebra, not cervical. And exited the front. It didn't. The Dallas doctors said clearly it was an entrance wound. And, in fact, there's a bullet hole in the windshield of the car, which is the only place where it could have come from. And that bullet, the so-called magic bullet, continued on into Governor Connolly, where it broke one of his ribs, shattered the radius bone in his right wrist, which is about the densest bone in your body, and then fragments wound up in his left leg, and then somehow emerged a whole bullet.
Jim, how old were you when Kennedy was killed?
4 and change.
Did you start this then?
No.
Okay. Because it seems like you must have.
The thing is about the magic bullet is that no one knows where it came from. There's something called oh God, I can't think of it right now. I know it is. Yes, chain of custody or chain of possession and so on. To just preclude the possibility of evidence being planted. Say, for example, you were hanging around Parkland Hospital and wanted to plant a bullet on a stretcher to implicate the guy you were going to shoot in 2 days. And Jack Ruby was, in fact, hanging around Parkland Hospital. And he was talking to an acquaintance of his, Seth Cantor. He's a journalist, I believe. So, yeah, he was definitely there.
All right.
I was in a position to, I'm not saying he did leave the bullet there, but he was in a perfect position to do that.
That is extra conspiracy CEE. Corky in Rochester with a question for Jim. Go ahead, Corky.
Yeah, the 3 vagrants that were on the railroad trestle.
Right. Mm-hmm.
One of the vagrants was Woody Harrelson's father.
Right. Charles Harrelson.
Nobody questioned Woody Harrelson. Nobody questioned.
Well, Woody Harrelson wasn't alive.
No, he wasn't born yet.
Yeah.
Charles Harrelson.
Yeah.
So Woody Harrelson wouldn't know anything.
Yeah, they were the famous 3.
We're not the guy from Cheers.
Why did they interview Coach?
I suspect Norm.
Yeah, they were called the 3 tramps, but they strangely had creases in their pants and clean shoes and clean fingernails and all that. So there's a curious.
What did they have to do with?
I don't know if Harrelson was one of the shooters, but he had done time in prison for murdering a judge. So
there's a trestle near Dealey Plaza?
Yes, there was the train tracks.
Okay,
behind
gotcha.
the stockade
I
fence.
thought they were just like.
But my point is, what did Rhea Perlman have to do with any of this? Because there's got to be something. Don in North Carolina, you're on with Jim. Hi, Don. Hey, Don.
Hello.
Oh,
Oh boy. Hello.
Hello.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Yes. Malcolm Wallace was JBL's hitman.
Mm-hmm.
They found a fingerprint of his on one of the boxes in the 6th floor depository next to the window.
And who is he now?
Malcolm Wallace was JBL's hitman.
Who's JBL?
I'm sorry, LBJ.
Oh, it's like, what? Oh, JBL's? Oh, Lyndon Johnson did it. Oh, Lyndon Johnson ordered it.
LBJ.
Well, see, I'm going to get behind that because he beat my dad in Goldwater. That bastard.
Well, Johnson was involved with
and he picked up a beagle by the ears.
Yes, but he was also involved with the Bobby Baker scandal. I don't remember all the details of it, but it was probably going to get him thrown off the ticket in 64.
Oh.
So and it's interesting that the whole trip to Dallas was to unify the liberal wing of the Democratic Party with the Dixiecrats. And Johnson was appalled that Connolly was going to be riding in the same limo as Kennedy. He wanted, oh, God, I'm blanking his name now, Ralph Yarborough to be in the car with him because he's afraid that his friend Connolly was going to get hit, and he was.
The funniest thing about this whole segment is the look Chris and I are giving each other. Like, we literally, suddenly the show is in Latin.
There's a trestle? What?
It's a language they speak that we just don't speak. And JBL is behind it. What? What? Okay.
The president of the United Yates.
All right.
Wait, no. Sorry, I'm Liz.
Right back
dyslexic.
on the Stephanie Miller Show.
Stephanie Miller
is the single funniest hour in America.
Wait, we're on 3 hours.
Huh?
What?
Only one of our hours is funny.
We condense it.
Yeah.
34 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEP-12. Mike and Madison on the nuclear option. Hello, Mike.
Well, before I get to that, I want to say I'm with Jim on all of this. Need I remind you that a conspiracy or a theory is not the act of uncovering the truth. It's the collusion of committing the crime and covering it up.
Oh.
And I've been chewed out by so many people for my views on this. I guess you just have to have some kind of inner wisdom to find all this truth. But
well, thank God you don't want to be Secretary of State. All right, go ahead.
Right. We get to Mitch McConnell, and he's going to threaten us with doing the nuke when they get in power, when he doesn't even realize they've already nuked everything. I mean, you've tried to just crush us and our infrastructure, and I think by now, sir, most of us realize what you mean when you say you'd go nuclear.
Yeah, exactly. Senator Lamar Alexander, Republican of Tennessee, here we go on the filibuster.
This is the most important and most dangerous restructuring of Senate rules since Thomas Jefferson wrote them at the beginning of our country. It's really not about the filibuster. It's another raw exercise of political power to permit the majority to do anything it wants whenever it wants to do it. It is Obamacare 2 in that sense.
Ooh, yikes. Ow. Yeah,
nice try.
Yeah, nice try. Honestly, like you just, I've lost the numbers right in front of me, but I mean, come on. This is
They've been playing games with parliamentary procedure forever, and now suddenly when Harry Reid stands up, he's like, oh God, what happened? It's the end of everything.
Oh no, the comedy of the Senate. Oh no, the decorum. Oh, the inhumanity. Okay.
By the way, I recommend some reading material about the conspiracy to murder President Kennedy.
This weekend.
JFK and the Unspeakable, Why He Died and Why It Matters by James W. Douglas, with two S's, like Frederick Douglass. It's like the most comprehensive book on the subject, of all the hows and the whys. It's very good. Also, Legacy of Secrecy by Lamar Waldron and Tom Hartman. Now, that's not casual sitting on the toilet reading. That's quite a tome. Wow. Also, if you can find it, Best Evidence by David Lifton. I think it's out of print by now, but you can find anything online. He talks about how they tried to, they did alter evidence of shots from the front on the president's body, and it's a part of his the theory. Well, he started the theory because there was an orderly at Bethesda. He watched the casket coming in the front door and said, well, that's weird because the president's body just came in through the back door in an ordinary shipping casket with a bloody sheet around his head. And his theory was that the body was hijacked and taken to Walter Reed before it got to Bethesda so they could try to cover up evidence of shots from the front. And this was actually verified 10 years ago, the 40th anniversary, when NPR released some tapes from that day. But most of them were just, not, worthy of, inconsequential. But the one important was said there was a radio message saying the body will be choppered to Walter Reed. Do you copy? The body will be choppered to Walter Reed, which pretty much confirms his.
Wow. I know one thing for sure is true, what Jim just said, and that is you can get anything on the internet. Because as I said this week, you can order any sort of animal poop to be sent to anyone you want.
Yeah, you can.
Great.
In any amount.
Fantastic.
800 pounds of gorilla poop, you can do that. Yeah. Internet. All right. Speaking of repairing damage, Liz Cheney trying to repair hostile relations with Wyoming press. She got
damage is already done. Sorry.
She got off to a rocky start with the Wyoming press corps, mostly because she's a nasty little piece of work.
And a carpetbagging douche.
Excuse me. 6 weeks after announcing her Senate bid, she publicly celebrated the decline of newspapers, accused her hometown paper of bias after it reported correctly that she had posted a $220 bond for swearing a false oath to obtain a Wyoming resident fishing license, and kicked a local reporter and photographer out of public reception. Since then, she's been trying to repair the relationship. She's visiting newspaper offices around the state, meeting reporters for coffee. Oh, wouldn't that be fun? Coffee with Liz Cheney.
I can't imagine Liz Cheney kisses ass very well, and that's what she's having. She's being forced to do this.
Well, if she weren't so deeply unpleasant, this might help. They're probably like, you know what? If we could spend less time with you, we might like you more.
Can you kiss ass and eat crow at the same time?
Yeah, the Cheneys are not a family that kiss ass very well.
No.
This is ringing just as false as that little.
Frosty.
We're more
Suddenly your coffee turns into a Slurpee just on the basis of her frigid personality. The question whether she can undo the damage in the state with such strong newspaper tradition, the primary contest is 9 months away. She has a steep climb, as they say politically, against Mike Enzi. Bashing the media, tried and true political tactic, but Cheney seems to have underestimated how central local newspapers are to the state's political process. And also, that perhaps they're not a bunch of big homophobes anymore. And they don't like people that are bitchy to their sister. Just saying. Okay. And now, back to JFK. Bill in Las Vegas, you're on with Jim.
Hi, Jim. Just want to tell you I'm totally with you when it comes to JFK and 9/11 and everything else like that. And I want to say hi to everyone in the chat room. I'm active in there.
Hello.
And now my understanding is that the JFK files were supposed to be declassified like 20 years ago. Wasn't there just a 30-year time limit on that?
Well, there was also the JFK Records Act of 1992, I think it was. And also with the Soviet Union fell apart. The KGB records also became available, so we know a lot more about that whole thing. But as I said earlier, Oswald was never a communist. He was part of the CIA because he worked on the U-2 program as a radar operator. So he had it's a crypto-level security clearance. And by the way, there were 2 attempts on Kennedy's life before Dallas. The first one was in Chicago, and it had another patsy with similarities to Oswald. He was also part of the U-2 program at a different base in Japan. And the third one was to be in Tampa. Again, similarities to Oswald. This guy was part of the phony defector program, which Oswald was also involved in, where they taught them Russian and sent them over. And, of course, the Russians weren't buying it for a second.
So he had nothing to do with it. It's a Beautiful Day? Oh, it's my favorite U2 song. I'm sorry.
What?
I don't know. Ezekiel in California. You're on. Ezekiel. You're on with California. You're on with Jim. Hello.
Good morning, Steph. Big fan.
Thanks.
Jim, you already mentioned one of the books I wondered if you'd read that was Best Evidence by David S. Liston. By the way, it wasn't an orderly. It was an X-ray tech who was standing
That's right.
in the rotunda with the X-rays of the autopsy that he was taking to be developed while he watched the casket being unloaded from the airplane.
Right.
Anyway, the other book I wondered if you'd read was Mark Twain's Plausible Deniability.
Yes, that was one of the first books I read on. Yeah.
Okay, and you just mentioned Jim Douglas. I thought it was fascinating that he talks about a guy that was a deaf mute standing on the Simmons Freeway Bridge that had a great view of the people actually shooting the president at the time. Go ahead and comment. I'm going to listen to you online.
He, I forget his
Here's what I'm startled by, that anyone has time to be an Emmy-winning voice actor or have a career of any kind and still know this much stuff.
I can't remember the guy's name. He was a deaf mute, and hardly anyone spoke sign language in those days, and he was trying to explain what he saw. And he brought his dad down to talk to the FBI once, and he advised him not to talk about it too much, because if they could do that to the president, they could do that to his son as well.
Wow.
So he was very worried.
Raj in L.A., you're on with Jim. Hey, Raj, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi, go ahead.
Yes, I'm with Jim, too. Conspiracy theory skeptics say that if nobody talks, that means there is no conspiracy. But it's not true. Strom Thurmond, for 50 years, he kept secret with that black woman. His family, hundreds of them, and the black woman's family, hundreds of them. They all kept quiet for 50 years until he died.
Right.
Then only the truth came out. So I believe 9/11 and Kennedy, and also these, the teabaggers of those days, Kennedy, they had this sign saying "Wanted for treason." Kennedy, So these crooks were, snakes in the grass. 3 of them took a point-blank range shot and killed him. That's what happened.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not sure what he meant by that. Point.
Okay. Joe in Chicago, you're on with Jim. Go, Joe.
Hi. I was just calling because after listening to intelligent people talk about JFK conspiracy theories, it occurred to me there might be a correlation between people that believe in God also believe in the conspiracy theories, whereas people that are staunch atheists tend not to. I'm just wondering if Jim Ward happens to be religious or not.
I'm kind of agnostic. I mean, I'd like, to believe that there's...
But you need a little more proof.
But,
you are an atheist, Chris LeBoy, and you believe in nothing, sir. You have a hollow shell for a soul.
I do not have a hollow shell.
You can have a soul and be an atheist.
Yes.
I'm just messing with you. Okay.
I have a sense of what's right and wrong. I don't need an invisible man in the sky telling me what's right and what's wrong.
Listen to the invisible sky wizard.
The flying spaghetti monster is going to get you now for that.
Peter and Madison, you're on with Jim.
Oh,
hi.
Hello.
I wanted to ask Jim if, well, first of all, I agree with you, and I was wondering if you heard anything from the Kennedy family. It strikes me as odd is that no one in the Kennedy family has pursued this, as far as I know.
Yeah, they just would prefer to forget the whole thing.
Well, yeah, I'm sure, but it seems to me that they would be the first to stand up and shout.
Actually, I think one of the Kennedy cousins has been talking about it. I can't remember which one it was. I'll have to look into it.
Probably wasn't Skakel because he just got out of prison.
No, not that one.
Yeah.
45 minutes after.
We don't talk about that one.
No, not that one. 45 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show.
Not bad. Like Frisbee golf, I'm glad I tried it once.
It's the Stephanie Miller Show. Stephanie Miller. Stephanie Miller.
It's come to this. We're watching cat videos.
Yeah, okay. Got to break up the, JFK, tension. Just to look at, it's the Bumblebee costume's too heavy
on
for
the cat, on the kitty. Sure, the kitty.
Did you guys see the
lays down and then rolls off the couch.
Did you see the Pugzilla costume on the pug? It makes him into Godzilla. Who's Pugzilla? Ooh,
who's a scary monster?
Okay. All right.
Anyway, getting back to reality.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I'd like to say something about the doctors at Parkland Hospital.
Please.
It was a...
and that's where Kennedy was taken,
yes,
correct? Okay.
It was a trauma room in Dallas. So they know a little thing or two about gunshot wounds. And they saw the wound in the throat was clearly an entrance wound, as I mentioned earlier. And there's a hole in the windshield, which is probably where it came from. They also saw a bullet wound in the hairline on the right side of his head. Malcolm Kilduff, the... President's press secretary, pointed right there as to where the fatal shot came from. There was another shot to the back of his head next to the occipital protuberance, the bump on the back of your head. That was blasted out by the frangible bullet that hit him in the forehead, which blew out the entire right hemisphere of his brain. And that 5
frangible means exploding? Is that?
Yes,
okay.
It's like lead.
This is why I don't talk about this, because I can't pronounce anything that he just
frangible.
said.
But anyway, there was a 7 by 5 centimeter piece of his skull on the back of his skull that bounced off the trunk and found by a guy named I think Billy Harper was his name. They call him the Harper fragment. He took it to his uncle at Dallas Presbyterian, and the chief pathologist said, "Yep, that's a bit of human occipital bone right there. That's what that is."
Occipital.
So yeah, he was hit twice from the front and twice from behind, and they knew what they were talking about. One of the doctors noticed his cerebellum hanging out the hole in the back of his head. You cannot see someone's cerebellum if their skull is intact.
No, I wouldn't think so.
The thing is, when I've talked about the body being hijacked to Walter Reed, one thing they tried to do there was to hide evidence of shots from the front. In fact, James Humes, who was running the autopsy at Bethesda, talked about seeing surgery to the top of the head. What he was talking about was a triangular piece of skin that had been removed, presumably at Walter Reed, so you wouldn't see the bullet hole there. And also his neck wound looked suspicious too. As I said, they put the tracheotomy tube through that, so there may have been some deformation of the hole there, but you should have been able to reconstruct it. Instead, it's this big, jagged wound with bits of flesh missing. It looked like they tried to make it look like an exit wound. And, of course, there's that fake picture of the back of his head being intact, which is a match.
It is a shame you never got a job on CSI or ER. You can speak medical jargon
taught me a lot about anatomy.
Nobody's business. Okay. Let's go to, let's see here, Timothy in Fort Worth, Texas. Hello, Tim. You're on with Jim.
Hello?
Hi, Tim. Go ahead.
Hey, listen, I read a book about 15 years ago, and what you're talking about is kind of coinciding with what I'm about to say. This guy was a ballistics expert. He testified over 100 cases. And I think if I remember correctly, he was the only guy that made it 3 shots out of that book depository window. But he never believed the one bullet magic theory. This one really got me. I read his book, and I seen pictures in the book. There were pictures in the book on the motorcade. If I remember correctly, the Cadillac behind Kenny's car, it had like 7 Secret Service in it, 2 on the running board, 2 on the front, and 1 sitting on the back seat of the trunk, on the back top of the car. At that time in the year, they had AR-15 did not come out. It was still an experimental weapon. Well, these pictures showed the guy on the back seat sitting up. When the motorcade took off after the shot was fired, he's holding up an AR-15. And his ballistic expert said that explains everything. Because he said when he come, he looked at the trajectory of all the stuff when he testified. But this explains that when that Cadillac took off, when they took off to go to Parkland after the first shot, it threw him back, and he accidentally fired that AR-15, and that's a high velocity weapon. A 5.5 is a high velocity. He explains why his head exploded.
Oh, yeah,
he said, these pictures blew me away.
Well, the bullet that exploded his head came from the front, though. That was from behind the stockade fence. In fact,
this is an entire culture, a subculture that I've just been totally unaware of. Here, it's time someone said the dirty word, Jim. Arlen Specter. Slowly you turned. Don in California, you're on with Jim.
Hey, good morning, Mooks. Good morning, Steph. I love you, darling. Listen, I wanted to talk about that single bullet thing. I've noticed that you haven't mentioned where that theory came from, and that's one former Senator Arlen Specter, who managed to be a Democratic senator and then a Republican senator and then a Democratic senator from the same state in the same seat after he came up with it, and he was a little-known legal aide or something to the Supreme Court, which is, and then all of a sudden he's a senator and his role in this whole thing.
So that was his reward, I guess, for coming up
exactly.
with it. Yeah.
Exactly. And how it was so significant that all of a sudden, and it wasn't right away. It was weeks after they started the Warren Commission before he finally came up with this single bullet theory. So they worked on that for a while.
Right, yeah. Because, as I said, they were married to the idea of just 3 bullets, and they knew at least one of them missed. So they had to make one bullet do, acrobatics like a pit special at an air show and go through Kennedy's body and into Connolly's body, break his ribs, smash the radius bone in his right wrist, disintegrate into fragments between his left thigh, and then emerge wholly intact.
Ed in
what?
Ed in Long Island, you're on with Jim. Hi, Ed.
Howdy do.
Howdy do.
Enjoying the show, and I'm loving the talk with the conspiracy theory, but I'm no conspiracy theorist myself. But it seemed to me that there seemed to be an unusual number of deaths that followed the assassination, about the witnesses who died.
Right. Rose Cheramy, Jim Bowers. Jim Bowers was in the tower overlooking the train yard behind the stockade fence, and he saw the whole thing.
Accidents
and he was killed in a single car accident, just like Silkwood.
Was anybody killed in a Thresher accident?
Only Dirnt.
Anybody hit with a bag of glass? Or any vipers involved?
I think in the Chicago plot they were going to use a bag of glass and a bag of vipers. But the thing was short.
Joe in Rhode Island, you're on with Jim. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Steph. Hi, Jim. Quick question on, do you know anything about that supposedly the assassination was supposed to take part in Miami about a week before?
Yes, there were two plots
before. It was supposed to be overheard in some type of a drug recording, like, a bug thing.
Right. The first attempt was in Chicago. The second one was going to be, I think, in Tampa. It was either Miami or Tampa, I don't remember. But this guy, Joseph Adams Miltier, is a white supremacist creep, was talking to his friend Willie Somerset, not knowing that he was actually a police informant and was recording the whole conversation. He was talking about how Kennedy was going to be shot from a building in, I guess, whether it was Tampa or Miami, it doesn't matter. When Kennedy was shot in Dallas, he called up Willie Somerset again and said, "See, I told you." And he told her that he said they were going to use a patsy to take the fall, and that patsy was Gilberto Policarpo Lopez, who, as I said earlier, was part of the phony defector program that Oswald was also involved in.
Boy, I bet you there is no minutia about this JFK thing that Jim has not heard of. There is not one call that's mentioned one random thing that I've never heard in my life.
I just got an email saying that you and I, Stephanie, are showing an appalling lack of...
Clearly. I know well...
lack of knowledge about this situation.
Listen,
don't get me started on Bobby Kennedy and Martin Luther King.
Oh, no. At least I know enough to shut my pie hole when I don't know anything.
Right.
You and I are just sitting here with cartoon birds.
I'm sorry, it's just never been an area of, interest for me.
We are incurious.
Well, I mean,
like George Bush.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is interesting. It's just not something I'd go and research myself.
This goes back to the big lie theory of Joseph Goebbels. The more outrageous the lie, the more people are inclined to believe it.
All right.
They wouldn't lie about something like that. Yes, they do.
The important thing is I love you and you are happy today. Right back on the Stephanie Miller Show.
gentlemen, it's the Stephanie Miller Show.
It's a feel-good show today. Brain fragments and 6 minutes after the hour. 1-800.
Thoracic nerves.
Third thoracic vertebra.
Oh, boy.
Okay. Pertaining
Okay.
to the thorax or chest, as opposed to cervical. To
Right.
the neck.
Oh, dear. Okay. All
They
right.
tried to make it look like the bullet wound was higher on the neck.
Hello. Welcome to the CSI version of the Stephanie Miller Show, November 22nd. Voice deity Jim Ward in his glory today. All right. By the way, it's the season, both to be jolly and also to celebrate the Trey Radel Cocaine Dreidel song, of course.
I'm sorry. I have no excuse for what I've done. And I'm not going to sit here and try and make any excuses for what I've done.
Trey Radel, 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 he snorted the cocaine. Trey Radel, 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 so much for his next campaign.
I've let down our country. I've let down our constituents. I've let down my family.
Trey Radel, 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 he snorted the cocaine. Trey Radel, 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 so much for his next campaign.
I'm here tonight to take responsibility for what I did, to be held accountable for the bad decisions that I made in my life.
Trey Radel, 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 he snorted the cocaine. Trey Radel, 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 so much for his next campaign.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Thank you, Kenny Pick. All right. Hey, you know what makes a delightful Stephahana Kwanzaa Christmas present?
Cocaine?
Sexy lip. No!
What?
You almost made me blow this. Sexy liberal tickets. Seattle, that is the final Chris Mahana Kwanzaa 2013 Sexy Liberal Show. Saturday, December 14th in Seattle. Phoenix is Saturday, February 15th. Madison is Saturday, March 29th. Albuquerque, Saturday, May 10th. Get it. Go to Sexy Liberal. Also, you know what? There's Sexy Liberal merch. You can even get like dog T-shirts and things for the Sexy Liberal dog.
There's not a T-shirt on earth that would fit your dogs.
Yeah, sure there is. Sure there is. All right. 1-800-STEPH1 to the phone number, toll free from anywhere. Let's. I love Grampy, John McCain, bitching about the nuclear option being enacted in the Senate yesterday when, as Harry Reid pointed out, of the 100, this is the only fun fact you need to know. Of the 168 filibusters against presidential nominees in U.S. history, half have been held against President Obama's picks. Does that seem fair to anybody of any side of the aisle you're on? Here's John McCain.
Approaching a slippery slope that will destroy the very unique aspect of this institution called the United States Senate.
Now a warning.
Pounding out something in Morse code while he's talking?
Yeah, they might start being really unpleasant and uncooperative now.
Yeah. It could get bad.
Grampy again yesterday.
They are governed by these hard-over, newer members of the Democratic senators who have never been in a minority, who are primarily driving this issue, and they succeeded, and they will pay a very, very heavy price for it.
Ooh. You know what a lot of people have said, and this is what the point I keep making, damn well, if they do take over the Senate, they would have done this.
Yep.
Immediately, they would have enacted if you somehow think, oh no, we can't, we have to play fair, because what if they would never do something like that? Senator Rand Paul.
I think what we really need is an anti-bullying ordinance in the Senate.
Really?
I mean, now we've got a big bully. Harry Reid says he's just going to break the rules and make new rules.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the Democrats that are bullies, right? Right. By the way, did you see this? GOP maps out waves of attacks over health law. This is how they like to play fair, and be helpful.
Yeah.
Like helping to fix the Affordable Care Act so it's works better for everybody and stuff like that. The memo distributed to House Republicans this week was concise and blunt, listing talking points and marching orders. Quote unquote, because of Obamacare, I lost my insurance. Quote unquote, Obamacare increases health care costs. Quote unquote, the exchanges may not be secure, putting personal information at risk. And quote unquote, continue collecting constituent stories to help fix anything.
Stories, yes.
No.
Collecting stories.
Stories. We have our little stories. The document The product of a series of closed-door strategy sessions that began in mid-October, part of an increasingly organized Republican attack on the Affordable Care Act. Republican strategists say over the next several months they intend to keep the Democrats on their heels through a multi-layered, sequenced assault. I mean, that's what this is. It's all political. It's not designed to help anybody that's having any kind of health care difficulty. By the way, you know who else is unhelpful in that regard? Who? Elizabeth Hasselbeck. Hasselbeck warns pregnant women on Medicare might lose their doctors. Oh, no. Oh my God. The headline from Daily Kos is, it's time to consider the possibility that Fox and Friends is an intentional comedy show.
Yeah.
She has Stuart Barney on.
Yeah.
Now
and she said, and many of these women are women who are expecting babies and who may just have a real relationship with their physician and want to see the same doctor possibly deliver their second child. And now they're left in the dark at a time when they're quite vulnerable. Even Varney was forced to remind Hasselbeck most of them are elderly.
Yeah.
Wow. She speaks to the huge constituency of women on Medicare that are having children.
Right.
Oh, dear
wow.
God.
Bless her heart.
Yes.
And makes Sarah Palin look like an intellectual.
Right. That's horrible when you're having your second child at 87 and somehow in your doctor, we probably lost your doctor because he's dead
20
now.
years ago.
Oh, boy.
Wow.
All right. You know what day today is.
What?
It's
Voice meeting, Jim Ward
Day.
One
Because
thing
is November 22nd, the 50-year anniversary of the
Yes.
JFK assassination.
was on a Friday, 50
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
One thing I haven't talked about is E. Howard Hunt's deathbed confession, which is in Rolling Stone last year at some point.
What did he say?
He gave a list of people who were involved with the assassination. Top of his list, Lyndon Johnson.
See, this. You know what? This is Chris has magically brought me full circle. Because Lyndon Johnson, of course, beat my dad in Goldwater, so now I'm all over this.
David Atlee Phillips, CIA and Bay of Pigs veteran. William Harvey, CIA and Bay of Pigs veteran. Antonio Vecchiana, Cuban exile, founder of CIA-backed Alpha 66. Frank Sturgis, a.k.a. Fiorini, CIA operative, mercenary, Bay of Pigs veteran, and later Watergate figure. David Morales, CIA hitman, Bay of Pigs veteran. He was apparently also involved in the assassination of Bobby Kennedy. Lucien Sarti, Corsican assassin and drug trafficker. And also, interestingly, I always joke that if you want to find the people who killed Jack Kennedy, seek out the husbands of the girls he was sleeping with. Well, Lenny Bruce got to that joke first, of course, as he usually did. Cord Meyer, CIA agent, architect of Operation Mockingbird, disinformation apparatus, and husband of Mary Meyer, who had an affair with JFK.
Oh, my. And also?
Lenny Bruce also got to I thought I came up with this, but the reason the term Negro fell out of favor is because of the way LBJ pronounced it. I thought that was mine, but he, again,
and
Bruce
also,
beat me to it.
LGBT? LBJ played grab ass with my mom.
Yes.
At a fancy ball.
I was going to bring that up.
Or she said, he was a little handsy.
He's probably a lot handsy.
After a few drinks.
Or as one of our callers said, JBL. Chris and I were like, right.
JBL?
What?
Who's JBL? I thought it was
Propulsion
JBL's
Laboratory? What?
That's what I thought. I was like, how did that get? What?
Wow.
How are they involved?
He was killed from a satellite.
NASA? What?
Okay. Let's go to Bob in Connecticut. You're on with Jim. Hey, Bob.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
There you are.
Go ahead.
Hey, there was a story going around years ago about the wife of Governor Connolly threatening to blow the whistle to tell what she knew.
Oh, really?
And then shortly after, she was committed to a psychiatric therapy.
I did not know that.
Supposedly
What?
for alcohol problems.
Yeah.
And when she completed her therapy, she came out and never spoke about the thing again. So I was wondering if anybody.
Well, that was
wasn't aware of that.
That's like a Francis kind of movie. Okay, just saying. Let's go to Howard in California. You're on with Jim. Hi, Howard.
Hi. Thanks, Stephanie, for giving Jim the time, first of all, to talk about this, because it is super important to a lot of us, even though I'm only 50. It shades our whole life because it's always the big shadow. But and Jim, you're so articulate about it. I wanted to say very quickly, two facts. First of all, Clay Shaw just died a couple of weeks ago.
Really?
I'm sure you know who he is.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah, absolutely.
he did.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I was going to bring that up.
Absolutely. Go ahead. I have one more thing.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Sorry. The other thing about the caller who called a couple callers ago about this ballistics guy 15 years ago wrote a book. I never read that book, but there was a documentary on about 2 weeks ago called The Smoking Gun. And since I'm a Kennedy enthusiast, my wife and I had to watch it, and there was new information about this about the whole the Secret Service. One of the guys in the Secret Service.
Very different.
The Nazis killed Kennedy.
Sorry about that. But the thing was, this guy had written the book.
With the help of JBL, the SS. Killed. What?
Sorry.
What?
Yeah, there's a similarity there. You have to forgive me.
Was NWA involved at all?
But the AR-15 thing, there's photos. They showed these photos on the TV of this guy on the back of the car, and these photos had never been shown before with an AR-15. I didn't even know it was invented back then. Okay, and this whole thing, conclusively showed that there was more than one gunman because of the frangible bullets and all that. Mm-hmm. But he claimed that the Secret Service guy accidentally shot Kennedy because he was in the back of the car with the AR-15, and someone supposedly pointed up to the 6th floor or whatever, and they zoomed the car, and he was falling back, and he shot Kennedy. But I don't know why they said that, but the guy exhaustively showed, because of the frangible bullets, which is two different guns, blah, 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 that it's obvious that, there was conspiracy, and they put it on this, and they named the guy. They named the Secret Service guy. You've got to check it out. It's called The Smoking Gun.
All right. Everybody's gentle down.
Wait, we're talking about Clay Shaw. He was very prominent in the New Orleans gay community. He was a CIA agent and was rumored to have been involved romantically with Oswald, who was thought to have been bi.
All right, now I'm paying attention. Now there's a gay element. What's happening?
Which makes sense. If you're going to be a double agent and you're already living a double life, well, that's the kind of guy you want. Anyway, Clay Shaw, the Jim Garrison investigation failed to convict Clay Shaw of being involved with the Kennedy assassination, but he did convince a jury that Kennedy died as part of a conspiracy. Clay Shaw worked for a CIA front company called the Centro Commerciale Mondiale, which is Italian for World Trade Center. So chew on that for a while.
Oh, no. All right, Chris, let's review. Kennedy was killed by the gay mafia, CIA, SS.
And JBL.
Also, and JBL.
And the World Trade Center.
Right. Which led to the... All right. 18 minutes after the hour. Yikes. Oy, oy, oy. 19 minutes after the hour.
So was this predicting something?
Okay, we have to break. We will get. I knew I should not open this can of worms. 19 minutes after the hour, right back on the Stephanie Miller Show.
The following program is closed captioned for the thinking impaired. It's the Stephanie Miller Show. Stephanie Miller.
It is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it. 24 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEPH12, the phone number. Toll free from anywhere. You know what, Chris? I let someone commandeer the bus quite some time ago, and I've just lost control now, and I don't care. Right. Steve in Buffalo, you're on the Jim Ward Show. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim.
Hello.
Nice to be on your show.
I'm grateful to be on his show as well this morning. Go ahead.
Well, I haven't heard really anything about the Masonic angle. I imagine you'd be aware of that.
The Masons are involved?
I'm agnostic about this, but it is out there. I mean, you mentioned the three tramps before, and one of them was supposedly Howard Hunt.
What? Not Charlie Chaplin. The three tramps. You mean the big...
Right.
Okay.
Including Woody Harrelson's dad.
Yes.
Yeah, and another one is
Charles
supposedly Howard Hunt. Well, the thing is, supposedly when there's going to be a Masonic assassination, it's very ritualized. One of the calling cards that you have three unworthy craftsmen.
Oh, interesting.
Jubilo, Jubila, and Jubilem. And the quote is that they will not be blamed for nothing, which is a double negative. But
All right. I don't know.
The
look on your face the whole morning has just been one of either gastrointestinal distress.
Well, no, Jim rolled his eyes, and I'm like, okay, when Jim rolls his eyes, okay.
All right, crazy person. Whatever. Sam in Ohio, you're on with Jim. Hi, Sam. Hi, Sam. Hello.
Hello.
Sam, that was our one lone Jim is wrong call.
Yeah,
well.
I'm sure that secret societies exist. I think people give them more power.
Well, the Masons
What are Masons? Do they make Mason jars? What are Masons?
No, they're a secret society that they originally started out to maintain the standards of stonemasons.
It was started by James Mason.
No, it wasn't.
I thought it had to do with Mason Reese.
And Mason Adams.
It was a secret society that started out to maintain the high standards of stonemasons around the world.
We'd like to maintain the high standards
turned into another fraternity.
Stonemasons and old men
James
who
Mason.
molest young girls later.
Mason Reese for the hour. I think that happened once on Larry King. That's all I remember. Okay, let's go to Mark in North Carolina. You're on with Jim. Hi, Mark.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I'm on. Great. I just wanted to further assert the connection between the CIA and the drug mafia people.
Right. Of course, again, mob.
It was 1946 through 48. There was actually no heroin in the U.S. The junkies were going crazy. There was like 20,000 of them left. They were smoking banana peels, trying to figure out how to get high.
Wow.
And there just wasn't any. And it was the workers organizing in France. The CIA brought in the mob to beat them up. And from then on, you just had this connection between drugs and the CIA. And Kennedy trying to get rid of the CIA is a big thing. And, that does further assert the mafia/CIA connection.
Yeah, he said he wanted to break up the CIA into 1,000 pieces. And that's when he created the Defense Intelligence Agency, which is a combination of O&I and Army and
So to review, because people who just tuned in, we asked last hour that you think it was the mafia at the CIA's direction is your best guess. Who was behind the JFK assassination?
Yeah, well, the mafia, of course, were really furious with Bobby Kennedy. Sam Giancana, was it Giancana who said that on his deathbed that we should have hit Bobby instead of Jack, because Bobby was the one who was really going after
they ended up getting Bobby, too. Was that part of the same conspiracy?
That's a whole other...
Oh, God. Oh, boy. Okay. Sorry.
Don't get me started.
I give you that look across the Thanksgiving table. You're Rick in Cincinnati. You're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hi, Rick.
Hello.
Hi, go ahead.
Thank you. I've always wondered why there hasn't been more skepticism about the killing of Oswald. When a hitman gets hit, that's perfectly normal, assuming that there's other people behind it. But the counter argument has always been that Ruby cared so much about Jackie Kennedy that he wanted to spare her this ordeal of going through a trial. But of course, we all know that Chicago mobsters like Ruby are, prone to those kinds of sentiments.
Right.
But I just don't buy it.
Yeah.
And what are your thoughts about that? And also, the death of Ruby, I had heard, was a plant, sort of like a Yasser Arafat type of thing.
Yeah.
Polonium poisoning?
Could be.
When did Ruby die?
Not too long after.
Okay.
Within a year, I think, a year or two of the assassination.
So your point is the
Jack
Jews
Ruby
did it.
was also mentioned in Bobby Kennedy's book, The Enemy Within, about the mob. He was a runner for Al Capone in the 30s. So Bobby Kennedy was very familiar with
Yes,
Jack
Arafat
Ruby.
got thrown in there like a cat toy. Okay.
He was thought to have been poisoned.
Right, yeah.
Polonium.
Right. 29 minutes after the hour.
Kind of like Brittany Murphy.
Yes, that's what they're saying about it. Yeah.
I am thoroughly confused. Right back on the Stephanie Miller Show.
Wow, being
Stephanie Miller
is stressful. No wonder you're always drunk.
It is the Stephanie Miller Show. Welcome to it 34 minutes after the hour. Well, pretty much everyone has been implicated in the JFK assassination on today's show.
Including the Masons.
However,
and Yasser Arafat.
And
right?
James Mason, especially.
And Mason Reese,
was involved.
iffy. The good news for me, and also a lot of talk that George Bush Sr. was there in Dealey Plaza that day. Well, Guess who was not?
Who?
Steph, I think your dad was at a Republican Midwestern conference in St. Louis on the day President Kennedy
well, he's
died.
Covered.
He is mentioned. Phew! Thank God for Goering's pal, as Jim likes to call him. He is mentioned in an article today in our local paper. St. Louis cries in the rain after news of assassination, and there he is. My dad.
Wow.
My dad was in St. Louis. It's in the paper.
Right. Sure he was.
Likely story.
Hang on. I'm scrolling down
No,
since
that
our
was Mill
printer
Biller.
does not work here. Let's see. We are Americans first and Republicans second, said William E. Miller, the Republican national chairman who was attending the meeting in St. Louis. Oh, thank you, Daddy. Okay. Wow, I had no idea how this related to Brittany Murphy until you just told me. So wait a minute. Jack Ruby might have been poisoned by polonium like Yasser Arafat, and now the new information of maybe Brittany Murphy, the actress from Clueless.
He just suddenly came down with cancer out of the blue, apparently. Jack Ruby.
This is weird. Who would
official story.
Poison Brittany Murphy? It's just weird.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's like we got Yasser Arafat. Let's get that girl from Clueless.
Maybe she beat someone out for a part. I don't know.
Wow.
Eminem.
Actresses are competitive, but yikes.
Eminem poisoned her. They were in 8 Mile together.
Aha. I don't know.
What's that line from the what is it? Ruthless, I don't remember, the musical. You killed a little girl for a part? Not a part, Mommy. The lead.
Oh, God.
Okay. A toxicology report may show she died with high levels of metals found in rat poison.
Yeah.
She died in 2009 at the age of 32. I remember that was weird because there were no evidence of drugs or anything, right? She collapsed in her home after days of experiencing flu-like symptoms. The L.A. County's coroner's office concluded her death was accidental but preventable, which is weird. 5 months after her death, her husband was also found dead. This is weird. The Hollywood Reporter says a guy that claims to be her biological father filed a suit against the coroner's office to do more toxicology testing.
Because they didn't test for poisons.
Yeah, though the lawsuit was dismissed, he sent the late actress's hair, blood, and tissue samples for testing at another company. Right. He sent an email to the HuffPost saying 10 heavy metals were found in abnormally high quantities. These types of heavy metals, toxic elements, are commonly found in rat poison, pesticides, insecticides, etc. They may have been introduced by a third party with criminal intent. Those reports have not been confirmed by the L.A. County coroner. They said we've not been presented with any third-party lab test results for analysis, so unable to. Weird. Because, and you were saying polonium was was that proven now with Arafat?
I don't think it was ever proven. There were lots of allegations of it, though.
I know polonium was used by the Russians on certain people. I can't remember the guy's name. He died, I guess, in London from polonium poisoning.
I don't think it matters because I think Ron Flammari's probably on the phone now to say the Jews obviously did it.
Yeah.
Meaning JFK, everything. JFK, Brittany Murphy. Yes,
you really want to make your head spin?
Oh, boy.
Read about Operation Northwoods in 1962. It was cooked up by Admiral Lemnitzer, I think. It had remarkable similarities to 9/11. It was almost like prefiguring 9/11.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to Tim in Tennessee. You're on with Jim. Hi, Tim.
Yes, quickly for Jim. Jim, do you think Lee Harvey Oswald knew what was going to happen that day?
From what I've been reading, he actually was trying to prevent it. He was actually a fan of President Kennedy.
Okay, so is that why he left his ring behind? A couple quick questions. And were there really curtain rods that he was carrying to work with him? Also, have you read Vincent Mugliosi's book? He's very convincing. He thinks Oswald acted alone.
Yeah, well, he's wrong.
And George Bush Sr. was a future head of the CIA. I'll let you riff on all that.
Right. Anyway.
You'll let you riff on all that.
There you go, Jim.
Yeah.
Wait, so what about, what was, George Bush Sr. was in Dealey Plaza?
Yes, there are pictures of him, or his double, if it wasn't him. And, who else was there was Joseph Adams Miltier, the guy who was talking about the Florida attempt on Kennedy's life. He was there in Dealey Plaza as well.
Florida attempt?
Remember someone said that it was
Miami.
originally planned for Miami.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
The one after
Pay
Chicago
attention,
and
Chris.
before Dallas.
There's so much information that's been thrown out here.
He was also involved, peripherally at least, with Martin Luther King. He was a part of a group of 4 white supremacists in Atlanta who put up money for James Earl Ray, which became like this world traveler, this supposed drifter.
Okay,
but,
I have a question. Yeah, this is coming from a skeptic's point of view. There are so many people that are being implicated in all of this. Every single one of them would have had to keep this massive secret.
But
I don't think people could have kept a secret this long without blabbing to somebody.
Well, they did. Some of them did, and then a lot of them wound up dead.
All right, Sam in
Rose
Ohio.
Jeremy, for example.
Sam in Ohio, you're on with Jim. Hi, Sam.
Morning, Steph. Morning, Mooks. Love the show, but I just can't believe Jim's position. It seems like he's espousing every conspiracy theory ever put out there.
No.
I mean, the ballistic evidence is pretty clear. It was.
It's very clear. No, it was
very clear.
4
There's
bullets.
been so many recreations.
4 bullets. It was 4 bullets.
2 bullets. Come on.
No.
And there was nothing magic about the second bullet. It went through Kennedy and then Connolly.
The wound in his throat was an entrance wound. The doctors at Parkland said so. They know about gunshot wounds. Yes.
Never turned Kennedy over, so they did not see the actual entrance wound.
Well, no, there was a back wound. No, there was a back wound, and it was described in the autopsy report. It was at the level of the 3rd thoracic vertebra, ranging downward, and did not exit. It did not line up with the other with the throat wound. That's according to the autopsy.
Definitely. I've never heard that before.
Well, you have now.
Okay, all right. Listen, I don't want Jim to stroke out, so I'm just gonna hang up on that guy now.
I've never heard that before.
Well, you have now. Good day, sir.
Beth,
you get nothing.
I need Jim. I do not want to risk stroking him out today. Beth in Illinois, you're on with Jim. Hi, Beth.
Hi, Steph.
Hi.
Hi, I loved what you read about your father in St. Louis. That just got me.
Since when have you heard someone say that, right? We're Republicans second,
days.
Americans first, right?
I know. I loved it. But, Jim, I just wanted to tell you what happened in our family. My dad was in construction. He traveled all over the country, and he was in California, and he met a man who told him that Kennedy was going to be killed in Dallas. This was like a month before. And my dad thought he was, just drinking or something. And he told my mom, and she said, no, you have to call the FBI. You have to call them and tell them what he said and his name. So we did. And then when Kennedy was killed, my dad called the FBI that night and said, I called you before, and this is the name of the man who told me this was going to happen. And they just took the information. No one ever called him. No one ever got back to him and wanted to know this man's name. And then when Oswald was killed, I just remember we got home from Mass, and Dad was sitting there, and he just said, they're in on it. They were in on it. They must have been. And I'd never seen my dad so upset. And I just wanted to tell you that. And he thought it was the mob, because he said in construction in California at that time, it was run by the mob. And he thought that was the connection.
Right. Well, yeah, they did use the mafia as hitmen. 2 of them were in Dallas, Chuck Nicoletti and James Files, also known as Jimmy Sutton. They supposedly, according to Sutton, fired the 2 headshots, which were just a fraction of a second apart. Crack, boom, you hear that on the Dictabelt tape. The first one went, as I said earlier, hit Kennedy in the back of the head. The second one hit him in the hairline on the right side of his head, and that was the frangible bullet that blew his brains out and knocked off a big hunk of the occipital bone on the back of his head.
That guy was like spicy food that upset Jim, and then she was like a soothing little sorbet that brought him back.
She was a Tums.
Joan in Minneapolis. Jim's like a hothouse orchid. Joan in Minneapolis, you're on the Stephanie Miller Show. Hello, Joan.
Hello, Stephanie. I'd like to be the official birthday girl. 60 years old today.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, and thank you all for everything you're doing. I just was talking to your screener earlier and describing your nice ass that I got to squeeze at the Sexy Liberal show last year.
Oh, thank
Very
you.
nice.
Thank
I'm
you.
kind of a butt gal myself.
Thank you.
My wife has a nice butt, but yours kind of,
I
could swing that.
Okay.
But,
are there pictures?
So listen, I also campaigned for your dad.
Oh, my goodness, really?
Isn't that, well, I was 10 years old.
Wow.
And I was trying to win favor with my uncle, so I, kind of was fooled into believing,
Who's a little former Goldwater girl? You are.
Isn't that cool?
Turned ass-cupping sexy liberal.
Yes, indeed. Right. There's something that happens to you when you do things that early in life, you know?
There you go. There you go. All right, honey. Well, listen, hope to see you again at Sexy Liberal. I hope for a second ass-cupping of some sort, please.
You have a very cuppable ass.
Thank you. Think of the first time you grew up me at a Sexy Liberal's foreplay for what you will do to me at the next one. Do it. Get tickets now. 45 minutes after the hour. Back with the remaining moments of the Jim Ward. Whatever. I'm just, you know what? I'm in the sidecar today.
Yeah.
It's sort of the Stephanie Miller Show.
It's fun. It's healthy. It's good exercise. The kids just love it.
It's the Stephanie Miller Show. Stephanie Miller.
The radio. Live it up, oh yeah. Friday night. Live it up, LA.
Oh yeah. Yeah. 49 minutes after the hour. 1-800-STEPH-12, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. Oh, this is rich. Of all the comments about the nuclear option being enacted yesterday in the Senate, Senator David Diaper Vitter said this is a shame for the Senate. Unlike when, I don't know, let's say a sitting United States senator gets caught, using hookers while he likes to wear diapers. Historically speaking, that's not.
You're going to talk about shame. That's
right.
That's up there. Yeah.
Stomping unprecedented obstructionism. That is the real shame. The LA Times writing, in recent years, the filibuster has become routine, robbing it of meaning. To paraphrase syndrome, when everything's major, nothing is. And that is completely true. Yep. It was used in a way it was never intended to be used. All right, 1-800-STEPH-12, the phone number, toll free from anywhere. Oh, it's some stragglers, some JFK stragglers. Mark in Missouri, you're on with Jim.
Hello, Stephanol.
Hello, Stephanol.
As I was telling my wife earlier, who watched the motorcade drive by shortly before Kennedy was shot, there were crowds all along the route, and we always hear that the route was changed at the last minute. And is that discrepancy, since there were crowds even along this change route, what happened with that? And the other question was I agree with Jim about the mafia. I've had discussions with a guy whose uncle was busted with Joey Doves Iupa in '62 when he got his nickname, and he later became head of the Chicago outfit. He was a bodyguard for Al Capone earlier, but was Joey Iupa, Joey Doves, involved at all in this that Jim knows about? And FYI, polonium was the first initiator used in the atomic bomb.
Oh, that's right. Wow, good point.
Okay.
Well,
Jim?
I don't know about the other guys. In terms of the parade route, it was announced in the Dallas papers that it would go down Main Street in the middle of Dealey Plaza, and Kennedy would have survived. Instead, I don't know.
It's hard to believe in these days, right? The people
I don't know who changed
hey, the president's going to be in an open limousine. This is the way he's going to be going.
Yeah,
really?
And it's going to come to a dead stop trying to make that hairpin turn.
Yeah. It's really sort of stunning,
Yeah.
Just like, really?
And the Secret Service, for some reason, they had orders not to leave the car. I mean, normally they run next to the car.
Right.
And in fact, there's a film, Love Field, in Dallas. From a distance, there's a Secret Service guy running next to the car, and somebody tells him to knock it off, and you see him, putting his hands up, and what are you talking about? It's what we do.
Yeah.
And of course, the only guy who responded was Clint Hill. Got there a little too late.
Today's show, as you know, has turned into one big conspiracy colon blow.
Yes.
We have somehow Yasser Arafat, Brittany Murphy. Who else has been dragged in today? We've
the Masons.
Right, the Masons.
And I haven't even got started on Martin Luther King and Bobby Kennedy yet.
Okay.
Well, we only
save
have
that for another day.
Yeah.
As long as it has turned into the whole show a conspiracy corner. Andy Kaufman. We've never even discussed the details of this.
Oh yeah.
I hope he is still alive.
My theory is it's Chris Farley that's not really dead, and it is obviously Mayor Rob Ford.
Yeah.
But
he lives in a van down by the river. Hey.
Andy Kaufman's quote unquote daughter says he's still alive. This is what the story was.
But
conspiracy theorists have long posited the comedian who died in '84 at age 35 of lung cancer faked his death. And an announcement at the annual Andy Kaufman Awards held in New York just a little while ago brought the theory back into the public eye. A woman told the audience, but again, there's no, proof that she is his daughter, so this is a little that her father was still very much alive. He had faked his death to escape the limelight and be a stay-at-home dad for her and her siblings. She appeared on stage with Kaufman's brother, Michael, who is his brother.
Right.
Michael also reportedly told a story about his brother reaching out to him in 1999 to meet for dinner, but he was stood up at a restaurant with the exception of a note that revealed Kaufman had faked his death. The woman reportedly claims to be 24 years old, however. If you do the math, that puts her birth years after Kaufman's death.
Yeah.
She is also a theater student. So.
Well.
And as a former theater student, I can tell you she's full of it. Okay. That's what you do. Acting is lying. That's what, you know.
Yeah, but theater students aren't known for their pranks.
Yeah, well, it's an improvisation, perhaps.
Was she assigned this?
I don't know. Monica in Los Angeles. I am so confused by today's show.
I am too.
Monica.
I blame the Masons.
Yeah. All right. Monica,
I'm confused too. Jim's really cleared up a lot today. Yeah. Jim. Are these the same people that planted that birth notice in Hawaii about Obama?
I doubt it. They're probably all dead now.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, by the way, you know one thing we also missed?
What?
Tina Turner has formally relinquished her U.S. citizenship.
Yeah.
You know why?
Why?
Because I think she used to live in Seattle and she can't stand the rain. No, she didn't. I just made that up, and it's not even...
That's good.
Here's the important thing. ABBA is planning a reunion.
Oh, thank God.
Right? You know how I love me some... Right? According to singer...
Agneta.
Right. They're considering a reunion in honor of the 40th anniversary, because today's the 50th anniversary, of course, the JFK assassination. 40th anniversary of their victory in the Eurovision Song Contest.
Yes.
See, once you hit Waterloo, you've gone too far. People are going to have ABBA stuck in their head all day. Some other really good news. The guy who made all the Adam Sandler movies is finally going to stop. Thank God. Okay, I think that's important news. Let's get to...
Although I like 50 First Dates. I thought that was good.
Do you think it's a conspiracy that Dave is calling from Texas? I think so. Hi, Dave. You're on with Jim.
Yeah, Jim, the best conspiracy theory that I have heard is that the Mafia brought in two shooters, one from Athens, one from Buenos Aires into Canada. They were flown by small plane to Dallas. As soon as the shooting was over, they sent them back on the same small private planes. Mm-hmm. And as soon as they got back to Buenos Aires and Athens, they were killed. And then the people who killed them were killed.
Wow.
Two levels of separation between the Mafia and Kennedy, and also the Mafia boss from New Orleans, when he was in jail, said, apparently, yeah, I killed the SOB. I would do it again. I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, I read that.
Buenos Aires. How was Madonna involved in that? Che Guevara? What's happening? I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jim. What were you going to say?
No, but I mean, I'd heard that quote before, that he said that he was glad he did it and would do it again. I think it was John Connor. I'm not sure who said that we should have, whacked Bobby instead.
Right.
Because Bobby was the one who was really going after the Mafia.
Right.
And of course, you know what happened to him in '68.
Here's some good news before we go. Speaking, we were saying about what's going to happen. They're being all threatening about the nuclear option.
Yeah.
The Democratic National Committee has beat the Republican National Committee in fundraising for the second straight month.
Good.
So, All right. By the way, some sad news. I don't know if you'd heard this. This is very sad and sort of random because this is someone we have mocked continuously. Do you remember former Florida Secretary of State Katherine Harris?
Yeah, this was sad.
Yeah. Which we made a lot of fun of her during the recount, but her husband committed suicide. Has apparently been dealing with health issues in recent years, and that is very, very sad for anybody that's whose family's been touched by suicide. That was a sad political note this week.
It was.
All right. What else do we have here before we go? I love this one. Mark, because we've been talking about it. Somehow Brittany Murphy got dragged into this, and actors. Mark Wahlberg, following a screening, unleashed a torrent of expletives directed at actors. Talking to you, Tom Cruise. Who discussed their training programs. He plays a Navy SEAL in the thing. He said for actors to sit there and talk about, I went to SEAL training. I don't give a what you did. You don't do what these guys did. For somebody to sit there and go, my job was as difficult as being in the military. How dare you while you sit in a makeup chair for 2 hours? Yeah. His comments come after
Nobody's
Tom Cruise
actually shooting at them.
Was apparently allegedly comparing acting to being a soldier in Afghanistan.
Oh my God.
Not quite apart from the threat of dying every minute. Yeah.
Right, except for that. Thank you, Jim Ward. Spectacular.
Thank you for letting me
All
vent.
right. Happy weekend, everybody. We'll see you Monday on the Stephanie Miller Show.